One of the biggest moments in Alex Eala's incredible rise suddenly took her far beyond the tennis court. A story claiming that the young Filipino tennis sensation met Donald Trump at the White House has sparked enormous attention online. But there is one major question everyone wants answered. What exactly was discussed? Was it about Eala's historic rise, the Philippines, American tennis, or something far more unexpected? And why has this alleged meeting become such a talking point when Eala's recent achievements already have the entire tennis world watching? Before believing every dramatic headline spreading online, there is an important truth you need to know. Alex Eala's name has been moving at incredible speed through the international tennis world, but the scale of her recent breakthrough is difficult to ignore. In August 2026, Eala made history by becoming the first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour-level singles title, defeating top seed Jessica Pegula in the Washington final after fighting back from a set down. That victory was not simply another tournament win. It represented a major moment for Philippine tennis and instantly pushed Eala into a much bigger global spotlight. Reuters reported that the victory also moved her toward a career-high world ranking of number 20 and marked her fifth consecutive victory over a top 10 opponent. And that is exactly why a headline connecting Eala with the White House and Donald Trump can generate such intense curiosity. Eala is no longer being discussed only as a promising young player from the Philippines. She has become an international sports story, a symbol of Filipino ambition, and one of the most fascinating young names in women's tennis. Her journey has already included emotional Wimbledon moments, major victories, and a historic Washington title. Just weeks earlier, she was honored at Malacanang Palace by Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who praised her achievements and described her as a source of national inspiration. So when a dramatic headline suddenly places her in the White House alongside Donald Trump, people naturally want to know what happened. Was there really a private conversation? Was it connected to her growing popularity in the United States? Could such a meeting have been about sports, international recognition, or the growing profile of Filipino athletes? These questions are precisely what make the story so powerful. But there's also a critical distinction between a viral claim and a verified event. At the time of writing, credible reporting does not establish that Eala actually met Trump at the White House. That means the real story is not simply about an alleged conversation. It is about how quickly a young athlete's fame can become large enough to generate headlines far beyond the sport she plays. The most fascinating part of a headline like this is not necessarily the photograph, the location, or even the famous names involved. It is the conversation people imagine happened behind closed doors. If a meeting between Alex Eala and Donald Trump had actually taken place, the possibilities would immediately become enormous. Would Trump have congratulated her on defeating Jessica Pegula? Would the conversation have focused on the extraordinary journey that took Eala from the Philippines to the biggest stages in international tennis? Would they have discussed the growing popularity of tennis in America? Or could the conversation have centered on the Filipino community and the enormous pride Eala has generated among Filipinos around the world? These are compelling questions because Eala's story is much bigger than a single tennis match. She represents a generation of athletes proving that talent from smaller sporting markets can command attention on the biggest international stages. Her Washington triumph demonstrated exactly that. She defeated elite opposition, survived a difficult final, and then completely changed the momentum of the championship match. Reuters reported that after losing the opening set, Eala won 10 of the final 13 games to complete the comeback against Pegula. That kind of performance naturally attracts powerful attention. But there is another reason the alleged White House story has become so intriguing. People are increasingly fascinated by Eala's personality away from the court. She has repeatedly spoken about representing the Philippines with pride and has emphasized that her success belongs to her country and the people who support her. During a July reception at Malacanang Palace, she expressed gratitude for the recognition and acknowledged how meaningful it was to be welcomed at the country's highest seat of government. So imagine the emotional weight of a young Filipino athlete being recognized at another iconic seat of power. That is the emotional storyline behind the headline. It is not simply tennis player meets president. It is the image of a young woman whose childhood dream has grown into something so extraordinary that her name is now being discussed in political and international circles. Yet despite how powerful that storyline sounds, viewers should remember that no credible source found in this review confirms the Trump meeting itself. That distinction matters because Eala has already been targeted by false stories and fabricated quotes online. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. The biggest danger is not that people are interested in Alex Eala. The biggest danger is that her growing fame makes her an easy target for sensational or completely fabricated stories. In August 2026, AFP published a fact-check concerning a fake quote attributed to Eala. The fabricated post attempted to connect her to Philippine political controversy and was presented in a format designed to look like legitimate news. AFP found no evidence that Eala had made the supposed statement, while GMA News also warned that the graphic was fake. This is important because it shows exactly how easily a real athlete's success can become the foundation for an invented story. The athlete is real, the victory is real, the emotional public reaction is real. Then someone adds an imaginary quote, imaginary conversation, or imaginary political connection, and suddenly thousands of people believe it. Eala has experienced this kind of misinformation before. AFP previously reported in January 2026 that fabricated articles circulated supposed insults directed at Eala by other public figures, even though there was no credible evidence supporting those claims. That background changes how we should look at the White House headline. Instead of immediately claiming that Trump and Eala discussed a specific topic, the responsible question is, where is the evidence? A genuine presidential meeting would normally generate official photographs, statements, press coverage, or some form of confirmation from the relevant parties. Without that evidence, saying exactly what Trump supposedly told Eala would simply mean inventing details, and that would turn a fascinating story into misinformation. The irony is that Eala does not actually need an invented White House conversation to have an incredible story. Her real achievements are already extraordinary. She has defeated top-ranked opponents, won a historic WTA title, represented the Philippines on the biggest stages, and become a symbol of national pride. The truth is arguably more powerful than the rumor. Her rise is already dramatic enough without adding words to her mouth or meetings that have not been verified. Now imagine for a moment that an official White House meeting were eventually confirmed. The significance would be enormous not because of politics but because of what Eala's journey represents. A young athlete from the Philippines arriving at the center of American political power after conquering one of the world's most competitive tennis environments would be an extraordinary image. The conversation could naturally revolve around achievement, perseverance, international sport, and the growing influence of Filipino athletes. Eala's story has the ingredients of an inspirational sports movie. She grew from a young tennis talent into a player capable of defeating some of the biggest names in women's tennis. Her breakthrough at the Washington Open showed that she could not only compete with elite players, but beat them repeatedly under pressure. Reuters noted that her Washington title came after a remarkable run of victories against top 10 opponents. That achievement gives any hypothetical presidential recognition a completely different emotional meaning. It would not be about celebrity for celebrity's sake. It would be about a young athlete becoming a representative of an entire country. We have already seen how meaningful national recognition has been for Eala. When she was honored at Malacanang Palace in July, she spoke about her pride in representing the Philippines internationally and thanked the country for its support. A future White House appearance, if officially confirmed, could therefore become another chapter in that journey. But until such confirmation exists, the most responsible approach is to separate possibility from fact. There is nothing wrong with asking what such a conversation might have looked like. There is everything wrong with presenting an imagined conversation as something that definitely happened. This distinction is especially important because the internet rewards the most dramatic version of a story. Alex Eala meets Donald Trump is already a powerful headline. Add what they discussed shocked everyone, and curiosity explodes. But the strongest storytelling does not require deception. The real suspense comes from asking whether the claim is true, what evidence exists, and why people are so eager to believe it. In Eala's case, the answer may be simpler than the rumor. Her rise has become so extraordinary that people are now imagining her alongside the most recognizable figures in the world. At the end of the day, the most important part of this story is not Donald Trump, the White House, or even the viral headline. It is Alex Eala herself. Her recent rise has demonstrated what can happen when talent, discipline, resilience, and national pride come together at exactly the right moment. In Washington, she did something no Filipino player had done before at the WTA Tour level. she won a singles title. She defeated Jessica Pegula after losing the first set and then produced a stunning comeback that showed exactly why the tennis world is suddenly paying attention. That achievement is real. The pride it created is real. The international attention is real. And that is why stories surrounding Eala can spread so quickly. People want to believe that the world has finally recognized what Filipino fans have known for years. Alex Eala is special. But that recognition should never come at the cost of accuracy. As recent fact checks demonstrate, fabricated quotes and invented stories can spread rapidly around her name. So if the White House meeting is ever officially confirmed, it would certainly be a fascinating new chapter in her already extraordinary career. Until then, the most powerful version of the story is the truth we already have. A young Filipina tennis player stepped onto the international stage, faced elite competition, overcame enormous pressure, and made history for her country. She did not need a manufactured conversation to become globally recognized. She did it with a tennis racket, relentless determination, and performances that forced the world to pay attention. And perhaps that is the biggest twist of all. The headline may ask what Alex Eala and Donald Trump supposedly discussed. But the real conversation happening around the world is about what Alex Eala has already accomplished and how much further this remarkable journey could still go. If you enjoyed this latest tennis update and want to stay ahead of the biggest stories in the world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe the channel right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. See you in the next video.